Good morning everyone, my name is swathigutpa and I am going to teach the subject OOMD. In today's class we are going to work upon unit number 3 and the title of unit number 3 is process overview. Under process overview, first topic that we have is under process overview, third unit in the subject object oriented modeling and design is divided under 3 parts. Under that, first part is process overview. So under process overview we have 2 topics, out of which first topic that we have is 8 task development stages, and the second topic that we are going to study in this particular chapter is development life cycle. So in today's class what am I going to teach you is, first point is SDLC stages. Now what is SDLC? SDLC stands for Software Development Life Cycle. Now let us take an example situation to understand this whole concept better. For example, let us take an example of a game, or let us take an example of a mobile app or any other software. For example, we can consider the case of a website. So as and when we are going to design and deploy a software, there is already a predefined structured way there is already a predefined structured way, which is a linear way. Under this we have different 5 stages that we have to follow. So as and when there is a software which has to be designed and developed and it has to be deployed to the end client, we have to keep 2 points in our mindset, out of which the 2 points that are important is we have to have budget constraints and we should have some time constraints. Suppose that there is a team, they are working for any MNC, any multinational company which is working on. So we have to give them time constraints that they are supposed to design and develop and deploy this by the end of 2 weeks or 3 weeks, whatsoever is already being decided by the higher management. Also they have time and money, budget constraints also. So the SDLC, that means Software Development Life Cycle, it is a linear way, that means it is a sequential way. Under this we have 5 stages, that means each of them will take place one after the other. So out of which the first part is planning. So as and when there is a software which has to be designed and developed, we have to do proper planning. Suppose for example, let us take an example of a flat that we are going to make, or an apartment, or there is a railway platform that we are going to make. So we have to do proper planning, that how much investment of currency is it going to take. For example, let us take an example scenario of an hospital. So suppose that we are going to design and develop and make a hospital. So we have what are the requirements that we have. We have to gather it, then we have to understand that what is the emergency situation, or how much urgency do we need, all the requirements, how much land do we need, how much concrete, how much bricks we need, what is the investment going to take into this hospital. Accordingly we have to plan. Okay, the next step under this SDLC stages that we have is requirement analysis. So for example, let us take an example situation of a game. So if we are designing a game, a new game, we have to talk to people. We can go for survey, we can take survey report from 100 people who are playing games, and we can understand what is the expectation of the end clients or the end users who are actually going to use the software. So herein we are going to do requirement analysis, wherein there is a team who are going to decide that what are requirements which has to be actually implemented or embedded into the software. For example, it is a game. So in game we are going to decide what all requirements, or what is the end objective, how we are going to design, what all qualities and features we are going to embed into the game, so that when the game will be deployed, the end user should be comfortable. They should feel happy that okay, we are paying something, so we are getting something out of it. Next point under this that we have is designing. So as and when designing is being done, we are going to design the architecture of the software, that this is how the software architecture will be, this is how the low level design will be, this is how the different high level design will be, out of which designs will be finalized. And it is being decided by the team that we are going to first design and develop, these particular features are important, and we are going to deploy the project with this particular designing work. Next part that we have is coding and development part. So here and there is a coding team. Each and every MNC they have a coding team, or they are going to develop it. That means they need to do coding part using any language, for example C++, Java, .NET. They are going to design and develop it. So finally the development of the project will take place. For example, let us take an example scenario. So it is MS Word. So herein people they are working on to the designing and development of it. So finally this is going to be developed. So herein what we are going to do is testing. Now before deploying any project onto the market, we are going to test it, that every project has to undergo the phase of testing. During testing, when it gets passed out, that yes, it is meeting some criterias. It is good enough to be launched in the market. There are no bugs or errors being identified. Then we are going for the deployment. When we go for the deployment of the project, what we do is we hand it over to the end client who is actually going to use. For example, there is a website or there is a particular web portal which is going to be used by the hospital system. So they are going to actually use it with their end clients, and then they will give us feedback report that we are actually been using it and we have found some errors in it, and we could not place a requirement. The client could not put in a request for a blood test as and when it was required. So then we have maintenance. So there is a particular team, they are working for the maintenance of the softwares in case there is any errors which is being coming up. So they will fix it, and then there is upgradation. That means if any project work is there, if any software is there, there is some particular model of it. So the particular version of it, right? So as and when there is a version of it, better versions keep coming. So as and when there is a game. So let us take an example of a game. So if a game is having one particular version, after 1 or 2 years, even maintenance and upgradation, a better version of that game will come up in the market. So this is what are the 5 or 7 stages that we have in the software development life cycle, right? So the software development life cycle, the ultimate goal of it is to ensure client satisfaction. As and when we are delivering the project to the end client, the client should have satisfaction that I am paying something for the project or the software, and I am getting some features or qualities embedded into it, right? And we have to finish the project within the time constraint as well as budget constraints that we have, right? So herein these are the SDLC stages. Now we are going to see each one of them in little bit in more detail. So here in first stage that we have is planning. So what are we going to do is, first we are going to do planning, then we define what is the project scope, how it is going to affect the ultimate clients will be happy or not, and finally set objectives and goals. So finally when we are working on the planning part, we have to set goals, that what are we going to design and deploy. Next point that we come for stage 2, that is requirement analysis. So for that, suppose that we have collected some requirements, so the team has to work upon and understand what are the functional requirements and what are the technical requirements that we have, and then what are the requirements reviews approved. So it has to be approved by the higher management that this particular team is going to work on to embed all these requirements. Then we have designing part. So under designing part that we have some designs. So under that we are going to make some low level designs, we have some high level designs, and the final architecture of how the project will be designed and developed will be decided and finalized. Other than that, we have is coding and development part. So when we have coding and development part, that means it is a very rigorous work. They have to work on coding part. There will be some errors and bugs. They have to identify and fix it and make it a workable code. So suppose that there is a website. So when we make a website, we are going to design and deploy a website. It has to be up and running. So the team has to work on it rigorously and fix the errors. Again, we are going to testing. Then in every organization there is a particular team for development, and there is a second team which works on the testing part. So when we go for testing part, what we are supposed to do is we have to the other person, and there are two types of testing. One is manual testing and the second one is automation testing. So manual testing, what we are going to do is there is a person and he will use, suppose there is a Facebook. Okay, so he will click on each and every link and he will find out if there is a link which is not functional or not in use. For example, Facebook is also an example of a software. So somebody has to do upgradation, maintenance, some new features will come each time. Likewise, we are going to work upon and we are going to deploy the project. After deployment, there is feedback report will be taken from the end client that what is the score they will give for the software or the game that they have designed and developed, or we have designed and developed. Then we have to go for upgradation and maintenance. So there is something pending or some more upgradation that we have to do, some more qualities or features that we can embed into the project work will come under. So this is SDLC stages. Now what is SDLC? SDLC means software development life cycle. So these are the various stages that we have under SDLC. So under process overview, we have software development life cycle. So what are the various development life cycles that we have? These are the stages that we have seen till now. Now software development life cycle. So under this we have waterfall model. So what is waterfall model all about? So waterfall model, under waterfall model, each and every stage will take place in a linear way, and once the stage will complete, then we will go for the next stage. So phases that we have seen. On the phases that we have seen, we are going to work upon it. First we are going to do planning. Once planning will be completed, then we will go for requirement and analysis. Once requirement and analysis will complete fully, then we are going to go for the one more stage. Now what is the one more stage? Designing part. Designing. Then we are going to go for development. Once this stage will be finished completely, then we will go for testing. Then we are going to go for maintenance, deployment. So these are the stages, and in each, yes. So when we go for waterfall model, what is waterfall model? It is a traditional way of doing software development. Now what are the features in waterfall model? In this waterfall model, each and every stage should be finished in entirety, means it should be complete. Then we can go for another stage, right? That comes under waterfall model. Now there is under development life cycle, we have one more, iterative approach. Now what is iterative approach? Yes, so herein we have iterative approach. So software development life cycle, under this we have waterfall model. Under waterfall model we have iterative approach. So B bit we have iterative approach. Iterative approach. Iterative approach. So herein we have iterative approach. So herein, suppose that planning is happening completely, then we go for one more phase, that is requirement and analysis. Okay, then we have designing and development. Okay, now suppose that the project is going on and the stage is such that we are working on one stage, that is testing. So we have identified some more expectations of the end client. So what are we going to do? We are going to work on the requirement part or designing part. Suppose that this phase is completed, we are going for testing phase and we have identified some errors or bugs. So what are we going to do? We are going to again go for designing part and implement changes. Okay. So herein when we go for iterative approach and iterative way, and this is more comfortable, more flexible way of doing software development. Nowadays, all the companies which are going for software development life cycle, they are not using, as waterfall model is a standard way to make students understand. We explain waterfall model first, but in companies, in reality, when we go for multinational companies, this particular waterfall model is not in use in real-time purpose. What is in use is iterative model, wherein if we have identified some errors in testing phase, we go back and implement changes, and then we re-implement and do some more designing or development part, and then we deploy the project in the market. So there is an iterative way of doing software development. Again this we have deployment. So again after deployment, if some more expectations, some more requirements have been identified, we are going to again re-implement it. And this is how there are two different approaches. So out of which is better? Iterative way is much better than waterfall model, and this is what is development life cycle.